A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. Proverbs 31, verses 10 to 11. There is a nobility in compassion, a beauty in empathy, a grace in forgiveness. John Connolly. Introduction, 1942 to 1975. 17 years ago, a noble wife, mother, sister, auntie, and succor to many was born. Chief Mrs. Jessica Ibijola Oloko ni Oye was born in Lagos to Mr. and Mrs. Samuel Uigun Olodare on the 12th of December 1942. Two of her famous nicknames are Echo and Eberin Echo. Her father hailed from Ute, Ondo State, while her mother was from Sapele in Delta State. Jessie Ibijola's parents later moved to Sapele, where she attended Church Missionary Primary School, followed by Anglican Girls Secondary School. Due to her academic brilliance, she was the only one chosen from her secondary school to attend the legendary teacher training college, United Missionary College, Ibadan. Unfortunately, her brilliant academic journey was abruptly suspended due to financial constraints. However, her destiny with Ibadan still reached out to her, and towards the end of her secondary school, she won a competition to present a new radio program for Itsekiri-speaking youth called Ajmo Kinyan, meaning My People, I Greet You. That was to be aired weekly at the Western Nigerian television house in Ibadan. She thus became one of the pioneering generation of Nigeria's fledgling media industry. She thrived in this role for some years. It was in Ibadan that she met and married her loving and devoted husband, Chief Simeon Olatunde Oloko. She fondly refers to the first time they met and how her heartwarming smile won his heart. Their first son, Akinbiye Oluwasunkomel, was born at this time in Ibadan. In the mid-60s, she and her husband left for London with their son. She enrolled in the famous secretarial college, St. Godric's in Hampstead, London, where she completed her training as a professional secretary with flying colours. It was while they were in London that the Lord blessed them with their second son, Adedotan Olodare. They returned to Nigeria to live in Ibadan till 1975. In Ibadan, she faithfully supported her husband, an internationally distinguished economist and legal practitioner. He rose to become the executive secretary to the Western Nigerian Development Corporation, WNDC. She became a confidential secretary to the managing director of the much-acclaimed Design Group, an architectural firm, where she rose in the ranks. She later moved on in her career to become a most cherished secretary in the Department of Geology of the University of Ibadan. The internationally acclaimed Professor Mosubalaje Oyawoye once commented about her great intelligence and memory, stating that whenever she was called upon to tell anyone where a file could be retrieved from, she would give the exact location to the letter. Her husband humbly attributes their daughter Adeteju's brilliance to her mother. She graduated with a first class in electrical engineering from the University of Lagos. God added 3 more wonderful children to this blessed family in Ibadan, namely Adedeju Omorene, Akinteyu Olanreju, and Akintoye Oladipupo. 1976 to 1996. They moved to Lagos, and God added 1 more loving son, their own Benjamin, to the quiver, namely Akindije Olantunde. Jessie Oloko, was a deeply prayerful woman. She kept on pouring herself into her husband, children, family, and friends. Her home was a refuge to her husband, children, family, and friends, full of love, care, and compassion. Her children recall countless times when they were in trouble and Mummy was always there to rescue them, or stay by their hospital bed for days. She was such a devoted woman that many people commented on her great hospitality whenever they visited her. She cared with so much compassion and once mentioned that she would have loved to have worked as a nurse. Some of her siblings still remember her compassionate heart with nostalgia. Also, in Lagos, she worked as a personal secretary to the production manager in Nigerian breweries and was also a businesswoman that stood out in her creativity. Her shop was called Fine Things, and she sure knew how to pick fine and exquisite items. She was not only known for her God-given beauty, but she was also known as a virtuous woman. Her husband rose to the pinnacle of his career as Managing Director, Associated Electronics Product Nigeria Limited, AEPNL, formerly Philips Nigeria, Vice President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce, and many other glorious heights because of her faithful and indomitable support. She believed in a balanced life, exercised faithfully, and encouraged her family to do the same. She and her husband invested their time in making sure the children did not focus on academics alone, but on having good, healthy habits, and also sacrificed to make sure that they had excellent education within Nigeria and outside Nigeria. She put them first in everything she did. Motherhood is a choice you make every day to put someone else's happiness and well-being ahead of your own, to teach the hard lessons, to do the right thing even when you're not sure what the right thing is, and to forgive yourself over and over again for doing everything wrong. Donna Ball, at home on a ladybug farm. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Proverbs 31, verse 27. She was given the illustrious chieftaincy title Iyal Aje, which means a woman to whom helping others brings a sense of fulfillment, of Ojoko town in Ona-Ora local government in Ibadan. 1996 to 2020. Use your voice for kindness, your ears for compassion, your hands for charity, your mind for truth, and your heart for love. Anonymous. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. Proverbs 31, verses 28 to 31. Her later years were spent caring for her husband, children, grandchildren, and family, even when she was still recovering from a stroke. She was a woman of great strength and compassion. She fought by the grace of God to walk around and even serve in the mission field as a faithful prayer warrior, an administrative helper, and a financial supporter. Her husband and children proudly declare that they owe a lot of their successes to her loving care and support. Her works praise her at the gates. Her sisters also remember how she was always there for them, and they refer to her as their mother. Her stepdaughter, her son, and daughters-in-law also celebrate her as a truly devoted mother. She had a deeper encounter with the Lord Jesus in her later years, and consequently attended Patmos Bible School of Faith, Lagos, at the age of 64 years. She served the Lord faithfully in different capacities in the Christ Chapel International Church, Ikeja, the Capital Assembly, Abuja, and the Covenant Academy, Abuja. She also served as a part-time administrative aide to Reverend Arthur, late, and Reverend Mrs. Doris Hockett, missionary evangelists, till she passed on. She loved missions so much that she attended Global School of Missions, Ibafo, for 1 year at the age of 72 years, and was a faithful partner to the missionary activities of that school. She was fondly known as Mummy Missions because of her spiritual and financial contributions. She was such an exemplary giver that she sold her only house, a 2-bedroom, and raised additional money to buy her mission school a brand new bus when she graduated. She traveled daily to her school, and it could sometimes take up to 2 hours because of traffic during the period of her enrollment. She gave to missions in villages. By her giving, she was left the legacy of generational blessing, as David did. She was an example of a life lived according to 1 Timothy 6:7. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. The celebration of a legacy. Jessie Ibijola Oloko left this earth having emptied herself of all that God had commissioned her to give to this world. She relished her God-given roles as a wife and a mother to many, and she emptied herself into her husband, children, grandchildren, extended family members, her church families, and her communities in Ibadan, Lagos, and Sapele. We thank God for the devout, exemplary, devoted, and compassionate life of Chief Mrs. Jessica Ibijola Oloko, who slept in the Lord on the 27th of May 2020. She will be greatly missed and fondly remembered by her husband, children, grandchildren, family members, church families, and her communities. Brothers and sisters, we do not want you to be uninformed about those who sleep in death, so that you do not grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope. 1 Thessalonians 4:13.